Hi everyone, Regine here. Welcome to Therapeutic Resolutions. I am having another live and I want to thank you all for being here. Welcome to this live. And if you are already a subscriber, thank you for being here. And if you are not a subscriber yet, we welcome you to join us. And if you haven't yet, but you're a subscriber, please, please turn on the notification bell so you know when I go live or post a video. And also feel free in the comment section to ask me any question or comment. Let's make this a bit interactive so that way we learn more from one another. So, as you all know, this channel is about sharing tips and information about independent contractors. I'm sorry. It's for independent contractors in healthcare. So either you're already doing independent work in healthcare or you want to. And this goes for any type of providers from occupational therapists, physical therapists, nursing assistant, doctor, psychologists, if you're in healthcare and you want to be an independent contractor, this channel is here to share some tips and also to show support and give guidance if necessary. And any questions you have, please do ask and I will answer you. And if I don't know the answer, I will find out. Okay? So today's live, I want to talk about the importance of work life balance for independent contractors who are in healthcare. Now, I've been in healthcare for over 20 years, and I can assure you, in almost every settings that I've worked in, there is a possibility of having an imbalance with work and life. And it is important for us healthcare providers to set ourselves up for success. And some of you probably already know, and some probably don't. I provide occupational therapy for the past 20 years in multiple across different settings and including schools, home care, and nursing homes, skilled nursing homes, and where else? Yeah, I believe that's it. So, and most of those experiences I've had as an independent contractor. As I shared before on my last live, that once I did finish school, I worked only for about a year and a half as a salary employee. And then I kind of like transfer over as an independent contractor, and I was doing that ever since across different settings. And I can assure you there are there is a very high possibility of burnout, stress, work life balance is just doesn't exist. But today I want to share with you a few tips that can help you if you put them into practice, that will give you a good work life balance. Okay, so the first one we will start with is boundaries. Now, now those boundaries, what's boundaries? We all know what it is, but I will share what it is. It's just a set of rules that you come up with and you put into place to protect you from yourself, sometimes from yourself, and from others. So, those rules, once you set it up, this is what I'll do, this is what I follow. So that way I maintain a good balance of work and life. Because what is what is life if we're just working and we don't enjoy life, right? We have to be able to have a good balance with everything. And I want to also share this. I remember when I was in occupational therapy school, we did an activity, and basically it was looking at what our day looked like, what was our work life balance was. And because when you're like in a graduate program, you spend most of I spent most of my hours in school. So I would start school 8:30, and then I would leave until 5:30, and that would be mostly Monday through Thursday. I think on Fridays we left a little earlier, but it was just like a full-time job. And I was working part-time at the time. And then so after school I would go to work, and then I wouldn't get home until midnight, 1 a.m. And then I had to wake up at 6 a.m. again and do it all over again. And then we I had to study too. I had to make time to study. So most of my weekends, that's what I was doing. So my work life balance in school was just terrible. It was non existent. And honestly, to tell you the truth, I felt it. I felt it. I missed out on a lot. After I graduated, I remember years after, I would look at pictures. Like my friends share pictures, I would look at the pictures and I would not see myself. Then I would ask, where was I? How come I didn't go this to this? So how come I wasn't at that? And then I would look at the year, or they'll say, you were in school. And I was just like, yeah, that's true. And I remember I I did prioritize school, so therefore I did not partake in any of the festivities. The only time I did partake in festivities was when we would have a break, like a vacation, a week or 2 weeks off, because either we're transitioning to a different semester or it's a holiday, a couple of days holidays. Then I would either do a little travel or then I would hang out. But once school was in session, I wasn't really hanging out, going out and doing fun things, because my time was limited and school was priority. So therefore I focused on that. But now, working as a working professional and not attending school, then all that time is open to us. So therefore I actually part of it, because now I will replace the full-time schedule with the full-time school schedule with full-time work. So now the afternoon where I used to go to work part-time because I couldn't do full-time, And part time was 30 hours, so it was almost full time. But for that time, so I have all that time open now, right? So now that I have all that time open, I can use that time to do those things I enjoy that I wasn't able to do before because I didn't have the time. So I was, having more family time, or going out more with my friends, or enjoying the hobbies that I enjoy, and doing the things I enjoy doing, traveling more, because I had more time. So my work life balance improved once I graduated school and was working full time. So it's still the same schedule, I'm assuming, for us all, because we all do aim for full time hours. So so now, because we have more time, and then because as an independent provider, we are in charge of how we set ourselves up and how much we take on, and how flexible the time is, because depends on what you do and when you do it. There are certain tasks you can kind of do whenever. For example, doing home care, yes, I have to set a specific time to see my clients. But then when it comes to writing the notes, or writing progress report, or doing billing, those time are not set with anyone else that I have to follow. Because of that, I have to um, set that for myself. So I have to decide when I want to do these um, this documentation, right? So now, if we don't set boundaries, we can end up doing them at any time. I mean, flexibility is good, because that's one of the main reason independent contract um, work is beneficial, because if something, it's easy for us to move things around. But as an ongoing responsibility, it is good to set a, a, a rule for when we do documentation, and so that we have time to enjoy life and do the things we want and spend time with our loved ones. So I'll give an example of that. I remember working at a school setting, which I've done for many years, on and off at different time. I I at first was taking stuff home, and when you take stuff home, your work never done. So you're home, you don't have time to focus on anything. You have to do dinner, then you have to think to yourself, oh, I have to write my notes before I go to sleep, because then if I don't do it, then tomorrow I have a set of students I have to see, and I would be adding on to my notes, and it will be more work. And that's the worst thing for that was the worst thing for me, to just let my notes pile up, because it get really stressful, and you're thinking about how many notes you have to write, and you're stressing about, it's just too much. So I made boundaries. I had boundaries, and I made some rules to to do my work at work. So at work, we had access to a computer. Usually, if you do ask access to a computer, either a laptop or a desktop, most schools would provide that, even if they give you access to the library. And usually, I was never told no. And I would ask only because I didn't want to carry my laptop back and forth, even though most of the time I did drive. It's just inconvenience, because I use that at home as well. So I would have to bring it back and forth, and I didn't want to do that. So every time I would go into a school, once I the first day I get oriented, I have a list of my questions and concerns and things like that, and I would always ask them, ask and kind of ask, okay, ask for access to a computer. And some schools have given me a laptop to use that I would have to return at the end of the year, or they would give me access to a desktop. Depends on the room that we had, because sometimes the room would be shared with other providers, and oftentimes there's a laptop there. I mean, not laptop. I'm sorry. There's like a computer, like most likely a desktop there. So I always had access to a computer. So I decided that I would see my clients, and then stay. It would take me about 30 minutes to write my notes anyway. So I would stay back and then write my notes. And once I write my notes, then I would leave. So that way I'm done. And then if I have a progress report coming, usually I would already know, I would have advance notice. Although sometimes I would get last minute um, last minute notice to for a meeting, but it was rare. It was rare because initially, as I started, I would ask for a list of the annual for all of my caseload, so that I would have a list. I would know which student annual would be coming up, and with that information, I was able to plan ahead and have my progress report written ahead of time, and then I would submit it to the person in charge, so that way they would have it. But then, I wouldn't be stressed because I would have the information ahead. So my progress report, again, if I have to write one, I would do it either after school, or I would get to the school a little earlier. Now this is where flexibility comes from, but I would either do that or start it. I would take a week to write it, but then I would start it, and every day I would add a little, add a little, add a little until it's completed. And then I find that when I did that, my peace of mind was just, it was great. It was fine. It was everything flow nicely, no stress. And that comes with the rules I set. And because of the rules I set, I was able to plan ahead and kind of like execute what I needed to execute when I wanted to execute it. So I shared that so that with you, so that you can try that and see if it works for you. And it should, because planning ahead, even though some people feel like they work well under pressure, does not mean that you are the most productive, or you're giving your best because you work well under pressure. So, um, that's my tip for number one, is setting boundaries. Set rules for yourself. What you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and whatever rule you need to set up for yourself to maintain a good work life balance. Okay, so number two is creating a schedule. Create Creating a schedule, again, it differs, depends on what setting you are in and what profession you are in. At least for me, I know that working as a home care provider versus working as a school provider, setting the schedule is different. Um, but there are some tactics that are similar. For example, when I worked at the school, I I would base my schedule based on how many students I have, and and then I would schedule my students kind of back to back. I would try my best to do that. It gets challenging, especially with students who get multiple services, and oftentimes they do. So once that schedule is balanced, it's either if I want to start at 9 a.m., then I'll do that. If I want to start at 8 a.m. and leave earlier, like it all depends on how many students I have on my schedule. And there are times I have students that I have students that I have a caseload that is so full that I am there 5 days a week until like the end of the day. So it all depends. But if I don't have like a full time caseload, I get to leave an hour earlier. I move I move them either up higher if I don't mind waking up early, or I start a little later. So it all depends because depends on where I'm going. Traffic might be terrible, but if where I'm going there isn't traffic, if the school is closer to me, I don't have to get on the freeway. I could go local, then I can leave earlier. But then if I know I can beat traffic, if I'm going further away and I have to get on the freeway, I may leave a little later. So it all that plays a factor in how I schedule myself. And then and then um with home care it's the same thing. Kind of like bunch um put schedule the children back to back, so that way in the same areas, so that way traveling kind of flows because you're driving all day, and um yeah, and stuff like that. And then add schedule in my when I'm gonna do paperwork, when I do billing. If I decide to do, I will do billing once a month, or I will do billing once a month, but the first week of the following month. For example, if I work, let's say this July, right? Then then the end of July, then that first week of August, I know that I would schedule myself, okay, Wednesdays or Fridays or that Saturday or whatever I decide that I will do billing, or within that week I will do billing. So it all depends on how many caseloads you have, how many children you have on your caseload, because if you have a lot of children on your caseload, then billing might take more than a day. And um, yeah, so that's why scheduling is important. It's important to schedule what you're going to do when you're going to do it, so that way these are like these hours I will be doing work, and then in the afternoon, or I'll work in the afternoon, and then early in the day I do life stuff, cooking, cleaning, hobbies, sleeping, laundry, whatever. Yes, so we talked about boundaries, which number one, which was having a set of rules for yourself, and stay within that boundary of that rules as much as you can. And then number two, we talked about setting a schedule that flows for you for work, right? And then number three is taking frequent breaks. Now, again, it all depends on what kind of work you do. Let's say, for example, you are you are a nursing assistant and you're working at a skilled nursing home. Now, you have to be there for the hours you are scheduled. So it's 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 a little different whereas you out in the field versus if I'm doing home care and I'm out in the field, I have to contact the parent, I have to schedule with the parent, so I have a little bit more flexibility there. But when you are reporting to a building just as I was reporting to a school, it kind of like the flexibility in terms of scheduling is not as flexible as if you were to do home care. So if you're a CNA and you're in the school for, I mean, if you are the skilled nursing home, let's say from 8 or from 9 to 5, right? It is important that you take your breaks. I mean, you have to have breaks because they have to give you breaks because you work certain amount of hours. When you work in those facilities, they schedule your breaks. Take your break, okay? I know sometimes in these facilities, some nursing assistants, sometimes they're short, and and then you have to see more patient, and you may wind up not taking your break. But try not to get into the habit of not taking your break because it's important. When you take your break, it kind of like reset. You get like a reset, some type of rejuvenation. You know, when you take your break, don't stay inside, go outside, even if it's cold. You know, put on enough clothes, put on your coat, walk around at least for like 10-15 minutes. And I guarantee you, when you come back in, you'll feel a little bit reset as if you're starting out a little bit. So take your break, okay? It is important. Even if you need to stretch, if you don't want to go outside, you don't want to stretch, you want to walk around the inside the building. I know some people they've taken the steps up and down just so they can feel they can move their bodies. Moving your bodies is important. Fresh air is important. So if you can do both or at least get one is good. So I know you're tired sometimes and you take a break and you just want to sit down. And there's nothing wrong with that. If your body says sit down, then sit down. But if your body is not saying that, then try to get into the habit of moving your body, breathing, things like that. That would help as well. Um, and then another tip I have, the last tip, which is a very important tip, is self care. Self care means different things to different people because we participate in self care in different way. And when I say self care, I'm not talking about brushing your teeth, taking a shower. That's personal hygiene. These are things we have to do to stay clean every day. But when I say self care, I'm referring to participating and engaging in the things that you enjoy. We all enjoy different things, whether it's um, going to the beach, going to get a massage, getting a manicure and a pedicure. Um, what else? Taking a bath, listening to music, whatever relaxes you. Or you could even do hobbies, whatever hobbies you enjoy. Do you have a club you belong to? Do you go to the gym? Um, do you um, do you like to go out for brunch with your family, with your friends? Do you like to go dancing with your friends? Whatever you like to do, whatever brings you joy, whatever calms you down, relaxes you, is self-care. Take care of you. And when you take care of you and you give yourself and participate in the things that you like, the thing that you enjoy, with the people you like, with the people you enjoy, even solo, because a lot of us like to do things solo as well. Doing all of these things will distress you, will make you feel a sense of calmness, a sense of well being, you know? So that's important. That's very important. So then, once you participate in those things, and these are the things that allows us to live. When we say we are living, living is doing these things. Living equals doing these things, hobbies and fun things, and of course responsibilities and stuff like that. But enjoying ourselves while we living is what the that's the life part of the work life balance. We talked about work, but the life part is that doing the things that we want to do. Not that we don't want to work, we want to work, but we also have to work. But doing these things that bring us joy, kind of like health, it help balance it all, and they both are needed, they both are necessary. So don't neglect the life part, don't neglect living while you're building and serving our community. So, this is what I came on to share with you. We talked about work life balance, and I shared with you 4 tips on how to maintain a good work life balance. It is good, not only good for our success professionally, but it's also good for our client, um, and then it's also good for our wellness and well-being. Work-life balance benefits us all, so that make it your priority to aim for that every time. Like, that's your goal. Don't go off your schedule all the time. I mean, we can be flexible. That's fine, because it's life. Things happen. Sometimes you have to leave early. Sometimes you can't make it to work. Sometimes you have to leave early. You can't write your note, and you can adjust. But once in a while, don't make a habit of going off. If you go off, it's okay. Come back on, and the more you practice it, the more it'll become habitual, and the more second nature it'll be to you, and then you'll be like more balanced. You'll feel a better sense of being by putting all these tips into practice. um I want to thank you all for tuning in, and If you haven't, if you're watching this live right now, you could say hi, just send me an emoji. And if you are watching this live after it's posted, please share with me what, if you do you struggle with work life balance, and if you do struggle, if you don't struggle, that's great. And if you don't struggle, share with us what is it that you do that makes it that you don't struggle. Like, share with us, how do you live your life that it's not a struggle for you, so that way we can maybe learn from you and take whatever you're doing and kind of like apply it to our lives. And if you do struggle, then also let me know what makes you struggle, what you struggle with, and maybe we can share some tips in the comment section on how to address it. For me, I I already know some of the tips that worked for me before, and I know as long as I plan ahead, I don't throw myself into any situation, I usually am able to balance work life, balance it all. I only when I'm throwing myself into something without planning ahead that I would struggle, because I didn't plan ahead, and then once I'm doing what I'm doing, um then I'm just off. I'm just off, and then it can get overwhelming and stressful. So I know and try not to, even when clients reach out to me and they need certain things ASAP, and I let them know, yeah, this is the time frame I have to provide that service for you, and if you that's all I have, and usually they have to oblige by it. And then also when you plan ahead, I find when I plan ahead, it is like it benefits my client, because everything is in order, everything runs smoothly, everything's organized. So I try not to put myself in the situation to be off balance. um so I'm aware of what can throw me off, and I try not to put myself in that situation. So, but I know sometimes things happen, and it's hard for me sometimes to say no to clients, or I can't right now, whatever, because there's a lack of therapists sometimes. But usually I would say, I would need 2 weeks to da 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 da, whatever it is. And usually that works out, even though they would want it yesterday, but it's not possible because I have other things going on, and it's just not going to work that way. And usually it worked itself out. So, yeah. Um, so share with me any tips that you use for yourself, even everyday life, to keep you afloat, to give you a good balance of life. Um, yeah, and I thank you for tuning in. I thank you um, for watching. If you have not followed, please you can subscribe, turn on your notification bell. And if you're an independent contractor or desire to be one, let me know in the comment section. And also, if you have a chance and you want to check out the description, I have a link of all the services I provide. You can preview, you can review and see if there's anything that you would be interested in. And my email is also in there as well, so you can contact me. Okay. Again, thank you again for tuning in, and I will see you all next time. Have a good night. Bye bye.